フルカウンター
Alright lads, welcome back to the Grand Cross video. So boys, today's a kind of exciting video. I'm kind of excited to record it. I think I know now who the next festival unit is. Now obviously it's all speculation, none of this is confirmed, but I think with the recent patterns they've done so many times now, it's not guaranteed, but like very likely. But I will say one disclaimer, and that is the fact that we may break the festival cycle. At the moment right now, every single chapter we get on 70S has been a festival unit. For example, we can go back all the way from, you know, Estarossa when he first showed up, then Assault Melee, then Purgatory Bond. Yes, he does show up actually. When we did give us a festival unit, he did actually go to Purgatory, and that was like the marketing to actually add into the game. Even though I know he does come in kind of early, because the move and stuff he does from the actual game, he doesn't do until he leaves Purgatory like season 5. So we did get him early, but at least in the actual chapter, he does essentially go to, you know, Purgatory. Recent chapter as well, we did get Gopher, who you may think, what the hell, Gopher wasn't in the recent chapter, he doesn't get his armor. He doesn't, but there was one point in the story mode where Merlin is rebuilding him, and as you can see right here, there was no cutscene for it, but he was in the recent chapter. And you could say I'm stretching here, but in his actual passive, when you actually unlock him when you get for the first time, the passive is literally more evidence of him like transforming. Merlin leaves, and while he's sitting there waiting as a floating head, basically, he you know, uses magic to actually transform into the magic state. So that was their reason, because technically we don't actually see this go forever in the actual story mode. So it's a little bit weird one, but once again, this is Gopher, like his actual outfit from the new season as well. But my point still stands. Every chapter we've gotten, even Margaret as well, every chapter we get is actually a festival unit. So what we're going to do now is break down the next chapter and go through what we could see and who actually could be a potential festival unit. And let's just try and predict who it's going to be. Okay, I will say one disclaimer is the fact that, well, even though recently in the past like few months now, we've gotten a, you know, a festival for every single chapter, which happens every 2 months now. There's a small chance now they break that cycle because, well, in the past, because there were so many festival units, you have to return them kind of frequently to where you can actually get them, right? So, you know, they have to return, you know, Barn again, they have to return Eskimo, they have to return Assault Melee, all of them characters so you can get them again, right? But now that they've kind of changed it now to where they're now on this banner here every month, that could be the excuse not to add a festival unit, because, well, there's no need to return the banner again because you don't need to get the old ones because they're now on this one. So I could see for the first time this chapter we could not get a festival unit, and it could wait to, you know, next chapter. But, you know, NetMarble, they want the money. Festivals nowadays are kind of the only things worth summoning for, and I will say as well, with the release of a collab coming sometime soon probably, it could change the schedule a little bit, so we will have to wait and see. But regardless, the next festival unit may be what I say here, so let's just dive into what the next chapter could be. Okay, so the last thing I will say is one thing here, is the fact that they could skip some scenes here. Now, the reason why I say that is because if you go back and look at Margaret where she got revealed, they saved all of her scenes for that one chapter where she came into the game, right? She did show up like 2 chapters beforehand, you know, when Margaret herself starts exploring, trying to find the DCL. That's like 2 chapters before she does actually appear and get her actual, you know, her new form. Same thing here, really. In chapter 17, so 3 chapters ago, boys, between chapter, or I guess episode 355 and 356, this is where Zodius does reveal Cusack and Chandler, and right before Drew and Gluxia removes their commandments, you do see one scene in the anime and manga where Derry and Monsby are in the hut and doing some scenes, and it's very possible as well they're saving this scene, because why show it, you know, 4, 5, 7 chapters before they do actually appear in the actual story mode where, you know, Estarossa kills Monsby. They're going to save that scene because there's no point putting it early on in the story mode, and save for that one chapter where they, you know, they have the massive episode of basically, you know, Monsby's death. So that could be, by the way, when we do get Monsby and Derry, the Enduro forms, because they're saving that scene for something. So that's one thing I want to point out for later on. Alright, so chapter 21 is probably going to be around chapter 254 to 256 in the actual manga, so you can go look at yourself. I'll quickly explain what happens, so spoiler alert here, but I'm sure most of you lot ain't experienced in the actual story of 7 years through Grand Cross. You would have known everything by now. But yes, Arthur does die. He does die in chapter 256, so 3 chapters after where we are right now in the actual game, which is perfect timing-wise for the last like 2 chapters they've done. And yeah, that would be a good point to way to end it, because you do get the massive fight here between, you know, Excalibur, Arthur, Cusack, Chandler, and, you know, Zeldris too. We also do see the Resonant ability. So this is where, you know, Cusack does appear for the first time, really does his main stuff, like how we saw Chandler when he appeared. And, well, that's, you know, nothing really too crazy here. I mean, if anything, we could see Kath as well. We could see this demon girl. I forgot her name. But we could see those characters. But the thing is, boys, well, we've gotten every character here. We've gotten, you know, Excalibur, Arthur. We've gotten Festival, Cusack. So the next question is, boys, why didn't they say Festival Cusack for, now? This would have been a good time. We wouldn't have got, 2 weeks after Margaret if they released him during this chapter here. But I do believe they've done the same thing they did with, Margaret and Zeldris. If you don't know what I'm referring to, during chapter 19, I believe it was, is when Margaret does appear for the first time. And, that's where she gets her actual festival form, right? But then what about Zeldris? Because, well, Zeldris, the festival we have right now, was based on chapter 19. This is when he does his massive spear thing in the sky and attacks Margaret. So, clearly, they couldn't release 2 festivals together because that's not what they do, even though they kind of did it with, Margaret and Cusack, but they couldn't really do that, right? So what they did was they released, Festival with Zeldris quite early on during a time where we could get him, and, well, they might have done the same thing here. They released Cusack early on, so, we got him during the Margaret chapter, even though it was arguably even worse, which saved 1 spot for a festival for this chapter. Now, there was 1 scene left out, and I did it on purpose because, well, this could be the festival unit here. Now, hear me out here, boys, and that is Holy War Estarossa. Festival Estarossa, Assault Estarossa, how you're going to call him. And the reason why I say that is because, well, during this chapter, this next part of the story mode, he does actually rob Galen's commandment, as you can see here. It's very, very brief, but that doesn't really matter because if we look at last chapter where we got Festival Gotha, he didn't even have a cutscene. He had literally a dialogue, and it was very, very short, but that was their reason to add him. And, well, if we look here, we do see, Estarossa rob a commandment. That essentially start of his way of coming, Holy War Estarossa, his assault form, where he gets all the, he absorbs all the commandments. And, well, boys, if you go back and look at Purgatory Barn, even though it wasn't Purgatory Barn, it was the start, his first journey into Purgatory. The first time we see essentially Purgatory Barn, that was the excuse to add him. So I think they made the exact same thing here, where basically we see Estarossa firstly absorbing all the commandments and then adding him essentially early, even though it's not really that early. And then, well, when we do see Estarossa in the future where he does actually absorb all the commandments and we see his actual form, then they could add more commandments there or add new festivals because we do see many other characters. So yeah, boys, that is the person I believe we're gonna get as next festival unit. It just makes so much sense, man. Next chapter we have everyone already in there apart from essentially Holy War Estarossa. He has essentially been not leaked but in the data for a very long time now. But I will say one thing as well, and that's why I kind of brought up the actual situation with Margaret where they skipped her scenes and they also skipped the Dairy Heresy. We've not even got it in game yet, and that's the fact that, well, they may skip this scene. We may not actually get this scene in game because what they may save for another chapter where they put all the actual Estarossa scenes together and then basically do one massive chapter just about him. But if they do end up doing that, then I'm not too sure who the next festival unit could be. It's very likely as well they just release an old festival unit that we haven't gotten yet. So I'll bring up an example of it. Wheelchair Gotha, he's not going to show up anytime in the story again, and if he's going to be a festival unit, then he could come anytime he wants to, and that they could put him during a week or a month essentially where we don't get a festival worthy character in the chapter. But then as well, once again, like I brought up early on, the new festival system where they return now on the actual filler banner, that could be a reason why they don't add festivals like frequently now and they kind of space them like massively apart. We also could get another collaboration. So I will say, this time around we may not see an actual festival unit, but that's just a theory, a grand crossfit. I won't do that again. I'm joking, boys, but once again, it's all speculation. Who knows what's going to happen? But, well, if they are adding, a festival every chapter like they've done for the past 8 now, then it's very likely we could see, Holy War Estarossa this time around. The meme is, I mean, boys, I know you've heard all before. Estarossa is coming. He's next, but he's actually in the next chapter if they include him. If they want to include him. But, boys, thank you for watching. Let me know who you think it is. And, yeah, thank you for watching, and peace.